Hi everyone, my name is Dan, and this very important training video is brought to you by WealthCare Consultants. What you'll learn in this video is how to pass the 7 Medicaid tests, so let's get started. Let's review the 7 tests one by one. Test number 1, sickness. A doctor has to certify you really are sick enough to need nursing home care. Now this is funny. Can you imagine anyone going to a nursing home for a vacation? Well, of course not. Test number 2 is age. You have to be 65 years old or older, or legally blind, or disabled according to the Social Security standards. Test number 3, citizenship. You must be a citizen of the United States, or, in some cases, a holder of a green card. Test 4, residence. This test illustrates why so many people have trouble understanding Medicaid law. To be eligible for Medicaid, you have to be a resident of the state in which you apply. But if you're in a nursing home in one state, you are automatically a resident of that state even if you live elsewhere, vote elsewhere, etc. Test number 5, income. The income test is a little tricky because each state has its own rules. But don't worry, because there is a special income trust that you can use to qualify even if your income is above the federal limit. What you would do with this arrangement, you would just deposit your income directly into the trust. In that way, the income really isn't yours anymore because it actually belongs to the trust. And because you now have very low income that fits below the maximum allowable monthly income, you are eligible for Medicaid. You see how that works? Now, of course, the trust has to turn over its income to the nursing home every month and has to give the state whatever is left inside of that trust when the sick person who's getting the benefits actually passes away. But remember, it's still better to get Medicaid than not to get it at all. Test 6, assets. There are several hundred possible combinations of the asset rules, but don't worry, I'll mention just a few of the most important ones now. Most people think you have to be broke before you can get Medicaid, that you can't keep the house. Isn't that what you thought before today? Well, this is what the Illinois rules actually say. You can't get Medicaid if your countable assets are more than $2,000. I repeat, you can't get Medicaid if your countable assets are more than $2,000. That pretty much sounds like you have to be pretty close to broke, doesn't it? But you don't have to go broke, and it's all because of one little word. Did you catch it? The word is countable. And it simply means that when Medicaid is counting up your assets to see whether you have more than $2,000, some assets count and some assets don't count. So right now, you're probably thinking, you understand why everyone says Medicaid is so complicated and hard to deal with. Well, not so fast, because that crazy madness has just begun. To begin with, some assets never count. Let's take a look at assets that never ever count. Things like clothing, furniture, jewelry, and the house, with a little bit of a caveat, and one car, the same caveat. What this basically means is the house and one car never count against the well spouse, the healthy spouse, living at home while they're alive. However, when mom and dad pass away, or the single person passes away, and no one is living in the house or no one's driving the car, those assets are now countable and available for Medicaid recovery. Test 7, compliance. In effect, you can go from having lots of countable assets to having less than $2,000 worth of countable assets and therefore qualify for Medicaid, but only if they approve of the way you went about it. The biggest no-no is giving away what you have so you now satisfy the other 6 tests. Now just imagine, you're sick and you're old, you're a citizen, and you're in a nursing home in Illinois. Your income is $1,000 from Social Security, and you have an IRA worth $100,000 and just $2,000 in savings. The IRA is a countable asset, so you can't get Medicaid. So you figure if you don't have the IRA as your asset, you'll be low enough to qualify for benefits, so you just give it away, leaving you $2,000 worth of countable assets. Now you pass all 6 tests and you become eligible for Medicaid, right? Well, not so fast again. You do pass all 6 tests, that's for sure, but you still don't get Medicaid because they don't approve of the way that you got yourself broke. Now, there are ways to shelter the money and still get Medicaid. Even gifting is available to you if it's done right. First, you could make a gift, wait 60 months, and then apply for Medicaid. That 60 months is what is called the look-back period, which is the time period during which Medicaid is allowed to examine your gifts. And that's all it really is. Then, after Medicaid determines that the gift was made during the look-back period, and only then, Medicaid is allowed to look at the gift to decide if there ought to be a penalty period for making that gift. Now, the amount of the penalty for the gifts that are penalized, meaning the number of months Medicaid won't pay, is computed by a very complicated formula. So here are the results. The rule says that you start serving your time, like in a penalty box at a hockey game, when you are otherwise eligible for Medicaid benefits, but for the gifting penalty. This is probably the most confusing part of all the Medicaid rules, so just keep it simple for now and remember this. If you gift, you will most likely cause a penalty period, but the penalty period begins once you file an application for Medicaid benefits and not on the actual date the gift was made. Would you like to learn how to qualify for Illinois Medicaid? Then send for our free report called Medicaid Secrets Revealed. This 23-page report exposes the truth about how to qualify for nursing home benefits without spending down your life savings or subjecting your home to Illinois Medicaid recovery. Get your report now by going to MedicaidStrategy.com or give us a call at 800-213-8469. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.